Two men who were willing to point the finger at the mob were found shot to death in their Long Island offices. They were executives at a garbage carting company. Fox News reporter Jeff Weiser has the latest.
At mid-morning, the body of Donald Barstow was removed from Quebeca Sanitation in East Northport, Long Island. Several hours earlier, Barstow's brother-in-law, 40-year-old Robert Quebeca, had phoned police and told them he'd been shot. Quebeca also died. Now what's left are horrified relatives. Barstow's wife looked on, and Quebeca's mother came to the scene. And there are sanitation company employees who had their workday cut short.
Tough bit if all of us were in there, you know, to taking us all out or whatever.
Suffolk County police investigators confirmed that Quebeca had recently received death threats by telephone. Quebeca was a witness in a state case in which carting companies and owners were convicted on coercion, conspiracy, and other charges. Now there are suspicions that this double murder was committed by organized crime members.
It has all the earmarks of a mob hit.
U.S. Attorney Andrew Maloney says Quebeca was to be a key witness in the federal investigation into organized crime involvement in the carting industry, which Maloney says has been controlled by the mob since the late 1950s. It was on June 7th when the government filed its civil suit, said to be the largest in history. It named Teamsters Local 813, 44 carting companies, 64 individuals, and the Lucchese crime family, headed by Tony Dux Corallo, and the Gambino family, headed by John Gotti. They're all charged in bid-rigging schemes and using threats, violence, and economic retaliation to keep legitimate businessmen out of the industry. It is believed that Quebeca Sanitation may have been one of the honest companies whose owners refused to give in to mob demands. Maloney says the FBI has entered the double murder case on Long Island. Some acquaintances were not totally surprised at the shootings because the death threats against Quebeca had been going on for more than 8 months. It's theorized that Barstow was shot because he was a witness in the wrong place at the wrong time. From East Northport, Long Island, Jeff Weiser, Fox News, Channel 5.
Shortly before 8 Tuesday morning, 38-year-old Patricia Capozalo returned home from driving one of her 3 children to school. As she parked her car in front of her house on West 7th Street in the Gravesend section of Brooklyn, 2 white men wearing ski masks pulled up in a stolen van and opened fire. Mrs. Capozalo was hit in the neck and back. She's in serious condition in St. Vincent's Hospital on Staten Island. Kathy Ferrantino lives directly across the street.
My mom, she came down and she saw, I guess she saw it because she came up running saying, Patty got shot, Patty got shot. And I wanted to run down and she told me, she said, Kathy, don't go down because I don't know what's going to happen to you. And then, you know, I ran down and I saw her daughter Melissa and she was crying.
Patricia Capozalo is the sister of 435-pound mob canary Peter Chiodo, a former capo in the Lucchese crime family who became a government witness and was himself shot 12 times last May in a botched mob rub-out attempt on Staten Island. Joe Coffey is head of investigations for the State Organized Crime Task Force. His new book, The Coffey Files, tells of his career as a New York City cop, during which he headed a unit that solved 82 gangland hits. But Coffey says he's never seen a hit like the rub-out attempt on Patricia Capozalo.
Now these people seem to be starting to act like Colombian drug dealers, where they're taking retaliation for informants against their families, innocent people. We feel that the motive here is probably to send Chiodo a message, Peter Chiodo, who's a federal informant, regarding his testimony in the upcoming trial of Victor Ramuso, who's the former head of the Lucchese family.
Mob buster Joe Coffey predicts that if government prosecutors don't succeed in destroying the mafia themselves, hitmen like the ones who tried to murder Patricia Capozalo here will. As young Turks change the rules of the organized crime game, the old mob families continue to lose the discipline and respect that once made them powerful. In Gravesend, Brooklyn, Bob O'Brien, Fox News, New York.
Another day, another Don.
He's been described by the feds as the most dangerous, ruthless mafia leader on the streets. Well, he's not on the streets anymore. After 2.5 years on the lam, Anthony Gaspipe Casso got caught in a house in Bud Lake, New Jersey, in his birthday suit.
After agents knocked, there was no answer. They broke the door down, found Gaspipe Casso in the midst of a shower.
He's called Gaspipe because he reportedly began his career by breaking into safes with a blowtorch. Gaspipe has been the reputed boss of the Lucchese crime family since the racketeering conviction in June of Vic Amuso. According to the feds, Gaspipe and Amuso became made members of the Lucchese family in the late 70s. Police say together they corrupted New York's Ironworkers Union Local 580.
There shouldn't be a single window put in we don't know about.
The feds say the duo skimmed anywhere from $1 to $3 off every window installed in every city project. In addition to racketeering, Gaspipe has been charged with 9 murders and ordering hits on 11 Lucchese members. The cops say Gaspipe changed his appearance. At his arraignment late this afternoon in Jersey, he sported a mustache and his hair was slicked back. When the feds broke down his door at this sprawling New Jersey home, he wasn't quite as dapper. So when he came to the top of the stairs with the towel around his waist...
No, he was not armed.
No, I know. What was the conversation?
Told him we were the FBI and that he was under arrest, and we had a warrant for his arrest.
What did he say?
As far as I know, he gave no response, and he came right down the stairs, and he was locked up.
If Gaspipe is convicted, he could serve more than 100 years in jail. I'm Penny Crone, Fox News.
I'm going to put him in jail. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to work very aggressively. Those bastards are going to get you killed someday out there. It's as simple as that.
Police Commissioner William Bratton left no doubt about how he feels about corrupt police officers. And most of the young police officers formed up at the 81st Precinct in Brooklyn today to hear him appeared to agree. When Bratton warned those officers about corruption, he may have had in mind the headlines in the New York Post and reporter Murray Weiss's detailed account of the ultimate corruption. According to Weiss's report, 2 New York City police officers acted as hitmen for now-jailed mafia chieftain John Gotti. According to this report, the assassination of Gambino capo Eddie Lino in 1990 was carried out by 2 cops on the orders of former Lucchese family boss Anthony Gaspipe Casso. Lino had been the chief triggerman in the assassination of mafia chief Paul Castellano outside Sparks Steakhouse in Manhattan. But while the hit cleared the way for Gotti to take over, Gotti feared Lino's drug use might make him unreliable. So now Gaspipe Casso, who is a government informant, says he enlisted 2 cops to hit Lino as a favor to Gotti. Using a flashing red light, the cops allegedly pulled Lino's Mercedes off the Belt Parkway in Coney Island and then shot him to death.
What it tells you is that there are some bad apples in the New York City Police Department. What it tells you about the mob is that they will pay people to get whatever done, to get done whatever they want to have done, and they'll do it whatever way they can.
Informant Casso has also told federal authorities 2 other city cops served as informants to the mob. Reputedly, all 4 cops are retired and are under federal investigation.
There are unfortunately both people on this job and people who left this job that really dishonored the badge of the New York City Police. And I'm not going to be shy about going after them.
The story is Eddie Lino was so anxious to impress John Gotti, he rushed up with his 9mm pistol to be the very first to pump shots into the corpulent body of Big Paulie Castellano. That act made Lino a capo in Gotti's organization. It wasn't enough, however, to save his own life from Gotti's eventual revenge. Up until now, nobody much cared who killed Eddie Lino, but if 2 cops were involved, now we all care. Christopher Jones, Fox News.
This is a quiet neighborhood. You don't find stuff like that around here.
Sources say it was such a hush-hush search that when the FBI brought out a mysterious witness who supposedly knew where they should dig, sources say the feds didn't even want the NYPD to know who he was. But the FBI has confirmed agents were searching the Brooklyn parking lot as part of an ongoing investigation. And sources say it's all related to the case of 2 former detectives accused of being mafia hitmen. Lou Ippolito and Stephen Caracappa were arrested earlier this month in Las Vegas. That's where they retired after leading double lives here in New York. Prosecutors say they were with the mob for more than a decade, even passing along confidential NYPD information to cold-blooded killers. The former partners are charged with engineering at least 8 hits for the mob while working on the force.
Caracappa looked gaunt and Louis Ippolito looked extremely pale as both men stood before the judge and entered pleas of not guilty.
My father loved being a cop. He was so proud of all of the things that he did while working for the city.
But federal prosecutors say Lou Ippolito on the right and Stephen Caracappa on the left, former partners in the NYPD, moonlighted as hitmen for the mafia. Both men pleaded not guilty to a slew of charges, including taking part in 8 mob murders and passing secret police information to the mafia. During that time, Caracappa investigated organized crime in the NYPD.
So that's a deliberate attempt by the government to poison the minds of the people against these two very heavily decorated, very respected detectives.
In court today, the lawyers for the cops complained to the judge of alleged leaks by the government, and they complained about the prison conditions for the retired cops who are in solitary confinement 23 hours a day and are kept in what they call frigid temperatures. The defense also attacked the credibility of two witnesses the government is relying on: mobster Anthony Gaspipe Casso, now in prison, and convicted drug dealer Burton Kaplan.
But from what I understand, they have a psychotic killer and a liar by the name of Casso, and they've got a drug peddler by the name of Kaplan. You put them against Lou Ippolito and Steve Caracappa, and you see who comes out on top.
Lou Ippolito's daughter sat inside the courtroom and waved goodbye to her father before he was taken back to prison. She wouldn't discuss the specific allegations against him.
Those are questions for the lawyers, and I'm not going to be saying anything other than that, but we all love my father, we love Steve Caracappa, and we're just wanting my family to come home.
Prosecutors are not seeking the death penalty in this case, but if convicted on all counts, both men could face life in prison. Reporting outside the federal courthouse in Brooklyn, Helen Lukaitis, Fox 5 News.
You're not? No, absolutely. That'll all come out in the trial.
So why is the government charging you in connection
Watch
with
your
another?
back. Just tell us one thing, which his colleague officer said. Were you ever a bad cop? Never. He's never been. Would he answer, the judge had mentioned how he's concerned about the conditions. Watch your back, boys. Watch your back, boys. And he doesn't want you dragging on. He doesn't. Watch your back, Dave. Is it very stressful? Dave, keep us on. Our life. Where does Scott hide? Okay. Just tell us one thing, which his colleague officer said. Were you ever a bad cop? Never. He's never been. Would he answer the people? No.